Yo guys, what's going on? Hope everyone's having a good day. Now welcome back to the Net Narrative. Now today I want to talk about the Houston Rockets and most importantly their future going forward. They made a huge splash trade probably a week ago. They got Kevin Durant in a great trade with great value. They traded away Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the 10th pick in this round, which was Kamani Malwak, and 5 second round picks going forward. Now this is a great price for a player like Kevin Durant because even though he does have 1 year left on his contract, he's still a top 10 player arguably in the league. He can still give you buckets. He averaged 27, an efficient 27 last year, and it doesn't look like he's dropping off anytime soon. So that's just like the player that they needed, especially in last year's playoff. They had Jalen Green going for like 9 points per game, and they just subbed that out for a player in Kevin Durant, who's miles better than him at scoring the ball, efficient, way more efficient, and he's proven. He showed he could do this on multiple levels, multiple occasions. So yeah, this is just a great trade overall. They did lose a lot of defense in Dylan Brooks, but when you're getting a player like Kevin Durant back, you still have players like Tari Eason, Ayman Thompson, Jabari Smith who can fill in those defensive gaps. And another piece of news that just came out is that Fred VanVleet re-signed for 2 years, $15 million, and that's a great deal for a player like Fred. Even though he didn't have a great season last year, he showed up in the playoffs. He was that veteran leader that they needed. He didn't take them over the hump, and they ended up losing in 7 against the Warriors, but still pushing a team like the Golden State Warriors, who were healthy in the first round, aside from Jimmy Butler, who was out for a couple games. They were relatively healthy the whole first round, and yeah, pretty much that's a great deal. 25-25, I think it is. So that's just a great deal for them. They could have taken the player option that he had, which was around 44 million, I think, or something around there. But he declined that and he signed 2 years for 50, which was a great deal for him and the team as well. So yeah, very very good news there. And the one key thing about the Kevin Durant trade is they did not give too much. They gave away Jalen Green, but they managed to keep Jabari Smith Jr. and Reed Shepard. Yeah, they kept Reed Shepard as well. And those two pieces are very key in the long term. Like when you're looking at the Houston Rockets in like 3 or 4 years, those are key pieces for them. Jabari Smith, he hasn't had the best start of the career in Houston so far. I think he averaged only 12 points last year, and he was coming to the league as he came in very highly touted. They thought he was going to be the next KD, as many people thought. He just has that mid-range game. He has that old school game to him, and he's a power forward who can stretch the floor, shoot. He plays good defense. He's just a Swiss Army knife type of player, and he has a bright future. Now he might be expecting a contract extension this offseason, but if I'm the Houston Rockets, I'm willing to go that extra year of not giving him that contract and wait until restricted free agency, where I don't think he'll have many big deals. Even if he has a great season, let's say he averages 15 or 16, shows flashes on the offensive end, plays really good defense, just improves his game overall. I don't think he's getting that max type of money just because of how contracts are nowadays in the NBA, where it's you give one bad contract, like 2 years down the line, you're looking at a second apron team, and I don't think anybody's about to risk that for a player like Jabari Smith. Even though he does have potential, I just don't see the risk in that particular move. So I don't think they will offer him a contract. I'm gonna be real, but if they do, they manage to keep him around for another 3 or 4 years on the dotted line, and that's something that could use eventually in a trade down the line, maybe in a player like Giannis. Who knows? Because Giannis looks like he's gonna stick around in Milwaukee for the next couple of years, at least this year. Because I think after this year, if they miss the playoffs, he's gone for sure. I don't think he's gonna run it back with Dame or any of that. It's kind of like a make or break year for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks this year. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Jabari. I'm high on him. I think he has a bright future. It's just about refining his game somewhat and really locking in. Especially when you have a player like Kevin Durant coming in, you can really learn a lot from him. And I think he'll be a good mentor for him, even though he's not a big leader on the court. He's still a leader by action. You can look at him, the way he plays, the way you can try to kind of emulate him and stuff. Another piece of news that is coming out recently is that James Harden is interested in rejoining the Houston Rockets. He's thinking about declining his player option, which is around 36 or 37 million, which is pretty low if we're being real for a player like James Harden who averaged 23 points. He wasn't the most efficient last year, but when you look at that roster and look at that team, he pretty much carried them to the playoffs. There was no other player besides him, Zubac, and maybe, I don't know, Norman Powell was balling, yeah. Like other than those three, there wasn't really like an offensive player for them to take a load off of James Harden. He was pretty much the creator. He even Norman Powell, he was getting buckets, but it was James Harden all the way through. He was getting them open looks, open lanes. It was all James Harden's doing. And he had a disappointing game seven, but before that game seven, he was playing pretty well, like in the playoffs. So yeah, he was playing pretty well in the playoffs before that game seven. So that's one thing to look at. I think the Houston Rockets might add James Harden on like a 2 or 3 year deal. I don't think he's gonna get too much money. He's not somewhere between 80 to 100 million, depending on the salaries and like who they're gonna try to sign in with the mid-level exception. I'm pretty sure he's gonna take a pay cut as well to join the team, because at the end of the day, it's Kevin Durant who he's joining, and it's the Houston Rockets who were the second seed last year. He knows that he could possibly win a championship with them, and I don't think money is the big objective for him at this point in his career. He's made over 300 million in contracts alone. He's made over 100 million just off of endorsements and other things like that, investments. So money isn't really that big of a factor in his decision. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with those. Now it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Houston Rockets decide to do with this free agency class, because they could pick up a James Harden, and they still have their mid-level exception. I don't know a lot of the free agents this year, I'm not going to lie, but I'm pretty sure they can get a couple of players willing to come there for a veteran minimum who could add some shooting, add a bit of defense, maybe a big man like. Oh yeah, and they did sign Steven Adams to a 3 year, 30 million deal. I think it was front loaded, so he's gonna be getting most of his money. I think 14 or 15 mil, just his first season. So eventually, like 2 or 3 years from now, it's gonna be a couple mil. It's not gonna be like something crazy. He played very great for them, and like that lineup of him and Sengun in the playoffs proved that it does work. It does work in big game situations, especially when you add a player like Durant in there and Amen Thompson. He's going to have just an amazing leap. I think Amen Thompson is bound to be an all-star. I'm not sure if it's going to happen next year or the year after that, but he's about to be an all-star very soon. So yeah, that's what I got to say about the Houston Rockets. Now guys, please remember that this is one of my first videos, so please show some love in the comments. Let me know what I can improve on, and please let me know what you'd like me to drop a video on next. Maybe mention your team, or just a team in general that you'd like me to cover, to talk about. I'll do my research and I'll get to you on that one. So until then, peace out.